What's up, Mgtow, man? The next couple of days are looking good. We hit the weekend, and barring anything not on the radar, I'll be able to make a few more videos than normal, and hopefully we'll have one up each day this weekend. So pop this video through your headphones as you're getting a lift in, going on a walk, winding down from the week, grilling up some food, gaming, or just relaxing after whatever this week has thrown at you. So today I'm going to rant a little bit, typical as I do, but I've written it out a lot. I've written out a lot of what I'm going to say today, just because it's kind of a very tangential topic and video today with a lot of content, and it's a big topic. I want to make sure I get it in coherently, and I hope that works with you guys and you get something out of it that you can take with you going forward and ahead. So today I'm going to talk about Mgtow's greatest purpose and what this purpose does for us as men and Mgtow men. I would say that I've been Mgtow for a little over a year now, having come across it on YouTube in July 2016. I got into Mgtow after about a year and a half relationship in college as an undergrad with a girl. I broke up with her, and there was a time there, about 2 months, where I was in the Mgtow philosophy, didn't have a name for it yet. And then July 2016, I found some Sandman videos. I got hooked into it. I found another guy named Mgtow, who I'll talk about in a second. I kind of had a falling out, or not a falling out, but a relapse, where about 4 months after finding this, I ended up dating again for a couple months, and I was a little bit distracted and lonely at the time, and what had happened there is just had some mad deja vu. I apologize for that. Mad, it's just perpetual right now. What had happened was I was you're in that relationship, but your mind is in red pill still, and it didn't work out, thankfully. And I went back to Mgtow immediately, and have been back on that philosophy. I'll go into more detail, the things I learned from those relationships and what I've taken away from them. And I'll talk about them a little bit more and how they've influenced me in other videos. But I also ran into this guy named Mgtow, or ran into his videos. Really interesting experience that was fundamental in creating my belief in Mgtow. He's from the U.S., and his dating experiences in the Western world failed. So he served in the U.S. military, and he decided to date overseas, and shortly after ended up getting married to a girl in Russia or Eastern Europe. I don't know. She came to the U.S. I don't know where exactly she was from, maybe Romania or something like that. I'll be the first to say that some of those girls, they're really attractive, and I think that their culture of respect, there's still that culture of respect that's underlying in that area of the world, that initially, if you just have like a kind of a brief interaction with them, you only see them once or twice, they'll come across as more submissive than American women and more in line with natural female nature. So long story short, he got married to her, brought her over to the U.S., and at the relationship of parasitism, he described it lazily, hung around, milked off his money, spent time on her iPad all day on Instagram, and he had enough of it. It didn't work out. She was clearly using him for citizenship probably, and for money and an opportunity. So now this dude, I think he's in his late 20s, 31 or 32 at the oldest, and he has some really good insights and opinions about Mgtow and women. But he doesn't make any videos anymore, which you often see with a lot of Mgtow channels, this idea of Mgtow burnout. And I hope that he hasn't fallen back to his old ways and ended up being blue-pilled by Western culture. But I tell this little anecdote because this particular anecdote has stuck with me. Why it stuck with me so much was because of the pain that was in his voice and the experience that his ex-wife put him through. It tore him apart. You could tell it tore him apart. It caused him to make these videos. It caused him shame and led to his own pain, all while showing me through this example that Eastern women aren't the cure for all feminazism that has engulfed the United States, Canada, and Western Europe. So definitely those three are the most feminist and feminist influence of all countries. So, but without Mgtow, without the philosophy of accepting culture for the way it is and seeing the negativity and why culture is so damaging today, which Mgtow has allowed me to see. Before I saw it more through, these are just bad things. There's this is how society is. You accept things for face value. You don't understand why, though. Asking what's going on is a lot simpler than asking why it's going on. And Mgtow has allowed me to do that. It's allowed me to see that. But with the knowledge that we can harness to avoid, with the Mgtow knowledge, you can use it to avoid the pain that unfortunately came to this Mcrafts guy he was chill, he was reasonable, he was hardworking, he was a simple guy, not someone that you'd wish divorce upon or any other strife that you wish upon a person. But I got a couple of comments in my last video, Women Made Mgtow, from two guys. I think Mgtow values and must know 3, if I'm saying correctly. But basically, what it got me to think of, obviously, Mgtow is a state of being, and it's a nature. It's a state of being. It's not necessarily a state of doing or an activism. But by boiling down my comments and my thoughts on them, basically, I came to the conclusion that Mgtow, at its highest form, exists to maximize the enjoyment, productivity, and purpose of a man's life in the world, and particularly within a gynocentric world. So at its most enlightened level, at the highest brow, Mgtow gives you time, it gives you money, but most importantly, it gives you peace of mind and purpose. It's a red pill of liberation that it frees you from the standards of the world that you can't satisfy, maintain, reach, or sustain, because with men today, with the expectation for them not to only to be men, but almost equally act as a woman in a lot of situations, and to not only make money, but to handle more responsibilities that were once ascribed to women and that women were meant to have from the very inception of the human race. They're unsustainable. You can't have both of these things. You can't have this double standard that men expected to live up to. And Mgtow liberates you from that. So standards that a work-driven, female-centered, money-centric world has created liberates you from that. A world that is lacking in identity that is gained from within, which is another thing I see all the time. No one really is pursuing identity that they're creating for themselves within themselves. And the thing I like about Mgtow is that it focuses on that a lot. It focuses on your internal identity and creating that person that you want to be because you want to be it. So Mgtow is liberation, and that's why you see a lot of that overlap in Mgtow with libertarianism, entrepreneurship, those things in particular. So Mgtow puts you in a place where you begin to work to be satisfied in yourself and to build yourself up. So at the end of the day, the way I look at the world is your thoughts make up who you are. You own nothing other than your thoughts. There's that saying, your thoughts are not even your own. Well, I think that your thoughts can get bombarded, but everything that you do in your life, it emanates from the thoughts that you have, and you still have the decision to choose certain thoughts, take those thoughts captive, and we don't recognize that, but that's all that we own. So everything you do comes from your thoughts in your mind and all of your actions, and thus where you go in life. They were a thought, they were an idea first before they were actually a thing. You own nothing more in life than that, and life is impermanent. Everything around you is not your own. You do not create the world. You're not command of other people's actions, and you'll never be able to be in control of the actions of women. So don't even try to do it. Just aim to control your own thoughts and create the best that you can, because that's what you owe yourself and to what's God's entrusted man to use what they have. And Mgtow allows you to use what you have, your thoughts. So, and I think one of my favorite Mgtow media makers on YouTube, Immortal Minds, I think of him when I think about the simplification and liberation process that goes on when you accept Mgtow and see its true purpose. So he talks about how he was divorced, but he talks about how he lost any interest in TV, owning a TV, mainstream entertainment. This guy's a sports fan and even watching sports to some extent, following that. Just all of these outlets were, they were so elemental in his happiness in daily life, but before becoming Mgtow. But when he became Mgtow, after his marriage, he didn't care about these things. He didn't care about this world that was buzzing around him, because the world's buzzing around you constantly. It's exhausting to care about it. And one of the things that Mgtow, I think, not subversively, but subliminally emphasizes is not being wrapped up in that buzzing, which women are often wrapped up in, what you see with the social media addicts. So I think of him because You don't even want to own a television anymore. I don't have a television with me. I don't watch TV. I don't have a streaming service. I don't have Netflix. I don't have Hulu. I'll talk about that in a second. But you may play video games. You may listen to music. You may read, lift. All these things are good because they stimulate the brain and they improve you. It burns less calories watching TV than it is just doing nothing. So consumption of mindless messaging is destroyed because it doesn't relate to you. It doesn't improve you, which is what's going on around you. Mgtow's purpose is to deflect that mindless messaging and for you to focus on the messages you should. So we are all entrusted with the mana and the talent. How you use it is our challenge, and Mgtow ensures that you use it effectively and efficiently. So I was never up to date in my TV watching. I never really watched it consistently other than sports, and I work in that related field, so I had to. And I was Aqua Teen Hunger Force is probably the one that I've watched the most, and that it shows that are offbeat, that they're not in the mainstream media, that aren't a part of the mainstream lexicon. I'm not into Game of Thrones. I've never watched a single episode. In terms of video games, the only video game system that an old N64, Game Boy Advance, and Color are the occasional indie games and RTS games that'll pop on from time to time for my own mental hygiene and mind sharpening. I don't have Netflix, as I said, Hulu, HBO Go. Not that I'm condemning these things. I'm just saying, I think we lose this wanting to anesthetize ourselves from the world and go to these things when we're present in our own minds and we're pursuing Mgtow. So I believe that Sandman has commented on this many times, discussing the erosion of the interest in these things when you go Mgtow. This is because Mgtow centers you on spending your time rightly and focusing on making yourself the best man you can be. I think I kind of clearly established Mgtow's purposes and why it's here in this video, at least in my take. This is surface level. But I don't want to gloss over the things that Mgtow does for you in terms of being an emotion and energy saver. So I've noticed a stark difference in the amount of emotional and physical energy that I've had since pursuing Mgtow. I've been able to sleep more. I have more time that's free for myself in the day to recharge. I have better personal hygiene. I just take better care of myself. My diet improves. I eat better. I don't drink alcohol. I avoid sugar for the most part. You don't need these stimulants. And most importantly, just my personal view of who I am, and I'm better able to understand myself when I'm sitting with myself quiet, and I can talk to the people that I care about in life and get their instruction, and people that I value and people that have wisdom. You talk to these people, you avoid those distractions, and you're able to hear who you are. So oftentimes you don't have this when you're in a relationship, and I didn't have it in my dating relationship. I was constantly living up to the evaluations of the two girls that I dated and other people, because you want to fit in for them. So oftentimes people might say that it's your fault for being in a relationship that would cause you to self-evaluate like that. But let's face it, relationships today, dating relationships, they naturally do that. And because of social media in particular, women, they're constantly building that standard. So there's constantly that standard that's just being created, perpetuated for you. So there's this article that I read, dovetailing off of an article. It mentions Ayn Rand in it, and Ayn Rand is another good person to look up if you want to get into objectivism and even libertarianism a little bit, and just personal thought and insight, and even Mgtow. Her idea she coins as her own, which is the sense of life. So it's a philosophy, or our own beliefs and views are necessary, which she says, because the person using Ayn Rand as an example, because each of us needs to understand his own convictions consciously to be able to put his sense of life into words. Otherwise, we don't really have a clear idea of what we believe, what is motivating us to make our biggest decisions, or whether it's true. We need to know what we think on philosophical questions, because our answers can affect the course of our lives, and the sense of life that dominates nations or cultures can determine their fates. So I'll have that in the description, but that's really mighty, that your convictions and your philosophy on life, it not only affects your life, it affects cultures, because it affects families. And families are the building block of a culture. And I would compare that people without these convictions end up going down personal paths that are completely devoid of conviction and direction. You see that so frequently today, especially with places that are just dead end cities. I just think of really low income cities, a lot of them that I've been in, and then stereotypically you think of urban areas and Detroit and just the Section 8 area, where it's a lot of decisions in life, a lot of kids that were born not out of conviction, but because of a natural instinct just to procreate, not high level thinking. And I would compare this to a man that is currently trapped in the blue pill paradox of life, believing that you have to attract a woman, date a woman, marry a woman, have kids, and work for a woman. He doesn't have a philosophy, and he doesn't know why he wants these things. Not knowing why you want these things is really, it eventually leads to the erosion of the family when you do have a family, which is what you see today, what I just mentioned, the erosion of the family, which the family's being assaulted by feminism, is causing the erosion of society. So Mgtow really provides this philosophical conviction about life. And in some ways, it relates to finance too, to careers, to politics and religion. In fact, it does a lot. It saves you many things, allows you many more things in your life. And this is the purpose of Mgtow. It's to save you time. It's to save you money. It's to save you create peace of mind for you. It's to make you the best person that you can be, the best man that you possibly can be. It's not about being critical. It's not about being cynical. It's not about being rah-rah and going to rallies. It's not about being behind a piece of activism in order to have an identity. It's not about those things. Those are distractions that you get a lot of on even in Sandman's videos, like chock full of wisdom a lot of the time and chock full of good insight, but you get a lot of this unhealthy form of groupthink that is based on anger, and which is based on just being right. And you can be right, but just be right with yourself and be good with that. So I'm going to address some more of these things tomorrow. It's going to dovetail into my diatribe about what Mgtow saves you and Mgtow allows you. And I hope you guys enjoy it. Enjoy your Friday night. Have a stellar weekend of freedom and relaxation. Sunrise Hoodie is done.